Hello and welcome to We Live for Saturday, your favorite college football podcast. I'm your co-host Mike, and with me as always is your other co-host John. John, how you doing this evening?
Doing all right. Been a pretty good day. It hurts a little less today. It's not that not that it doesn't hurt.
Sure.
It's just not as painful. Let's just put it that way. I'm moving on, trying to put it all behind me. It is just one game.
One game out of 12.
Yep. Whether you won last week, although there's a few games like I think we've mentioned that definitely, if you won, and the team you beat definitely means something. But I think I'm going to look at this as, it was always going to be closer to 50-50. We lost, and that's just the way it goes. We got room to build, and we got 11 more games to go. And hopefully this next game is going to make me feel a whole lot better.
Yeah. When your first team all Big Ten kicker misses 2 kicks, all you can say is it wasn't our night.
That's it. So,
yeah. So we're moving on into some awesome week 2 action, and I am excited about week 2 in the Big Ten, John.
Yeah, I am too. There's some good games coming up here. Some really big ones. Some, again, more kind of clunkers. I expect to be more or less blowouts. So not a lot. You're going to glean from certain teams, I think, even in this week. So we'll see, but it's still going to be fun. It's still going to be interesting. There's also a couple teams not playing, as well this week. So, it'll be fun either way. I mean, it's college football season, not a whole lot you can complain about. Not now anyways.
And it's September, where despite anything that's happened yet, hope still springs eternal.
That's right. I'm not giving up yet.
No, absolutely not. Nor should you.
Yeah. Well, I just want to start off this pod because I forgot to do it on the last one in the beginning, to remind everybody, if you want to find We Live for Saturday, please look us up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podcast Addict. You can find us on Twitter at We Live for B1GSat. You can find Mike at Alibaba26. You can find me at Norwegian Gopher. You can also email us, we live for Saturday, b1g@gmail.com. And as always, please give us a 5-star review, even if you don't like what we have to say about your team. You can grill us in the reviews, send us all your hate mail, whatever you want to do. We're happy to receive it.
And especially no matter what platform you are on, if you could go to YouTube and like the video and subscribe to our page, we really appreciate that. We are trying to grow the pod this year, and any subscriptions help.
Absolutely.
And all likes on videos, all that kind of stuff makes a big deal in the algorithm. So we're trying to get in good with the algorithm. That's a long-term and short-term goal here.
Yep, absolutely. And retweet all that stuff. Great. We would appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you in advance to everyone who watches and listens. John, anything you want to talk about before we jump right into previewing week 2 games here?
I mean, is there anything? Do we want to talk about any other podcasts right now? Things we've heard since the game, or do we want to I don't think.
I feel like we don't even want to put that bad juju out there.
Okay. All right. Okay.
You don't want to Florida State it.
No, we don't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
Don't want to do that. Don't want to overdo. Get so up in arms about one loss that then you turn around and see your team lose another game, and then you have nothing left to say.
Yep, that's true. All right, I will not.
Did you see the Knowles guy? Okay, speaking of, we should talk about this. Did you see the Knowles guy? We won't say exactly what he said he was going to do.
Everyone knows, I think.
But he said he was going to do some unholy things with a red Solo cup.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If Boston College defeated Florida State, and he said he was going to videotape himself doing it, and then he was going to put it up on Twitter. And that account no longer exists because he had no intention of fulfilling that bet. And you know what? I don't know what you do in that situation. That's why you don't stick your neck out and make, write checks that you can't cash.
Yep.
Because then you're in a situation where you've embarrassed yourself. He has like a beard and stuff. I bet you he has to come back clean shaven, right? Right? because otherwise people are going to find him. It's going to be too easy if he's got the beard. So he's going to have to shave. He might have to change the way he dresses a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's going to have to be in like witness protection. He's going to have to change his whole life, or else people are going to find him and figure out who he was and bring it out. So his next, man, dude, if you're out there listening, whatever your next handle is, I'd say shave. I'd say get a makeover, maybe ditch I think what he was a cigar guy. You can't do that anymore. And anything really recognizable, I'd say you got to let it go.
I mean, does he, if he's a student, which I don't know, if he's a student at Florida State, don't you have to now drop out or go to a different school? Like, isn't that kind of how?
Yeah. It's worse if you're an alum, I guess.
Yeah. I mean,
if you're in school, you could still theoretically switch schools, but if you're an alum, you're just an alum. And you kind of are where you are. But this is why college football people is already painful enough as it is. That's why I know a lot of people get really into gambling. And if you want to gamble and that's your thing, whatever, have a good time. Sure. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But I do think college football already hurts enough that I never understood let's add in a monetary loss.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Same.
Oh man, I already paid money to buy tickets and merchandise and apparel and go to this game. Now I'm going to lose even more money because I gambled on it. Not for me, man. Just not for me.
No, me neither. There's also things about everyone should, to a degree, trash talk in the off season or leading up to certain games or whatever. I get it. There's rivalries. It's fine. It's fun.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there are some out there, and there's, unfortunately for them, a particular fan base that likes to repeat that thing about, speaking a little too highly of themselves and then falling short, which they might not this year. This might be the year it doesn't. But I just don't want to be in that situation. And I don't think anyone does, because you've seen it. You've seen the pain come out of that fan base, and that sucks. That really sucks for them. Yeah. So learn from that. Don't do that, or do if you're okay with it, which some people clearly must be. I can only.
Some people like certain pain, John. Some people like it.
Some people.
I don't get it. I've never been a big fan. I try to avoid it myself.
Same.
But some people want to put themselves out there to just get chopped to pieces, and God bless them, I guess, if that's cathartic for them in some way. It just sounds just kind of miserable to me.
Yeah, or they're a glutton for punishment, man. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yep.
But we will see. There's lots of football to be had. Maybe some of those people are going to finally be right, and about their teams, whether whether it was Nebraska or Iowa or all these teams, I think that still have the right to have some hope right now. And
we're going to find out a lot about a lot of teams this week.
Yes, we are.
And I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, me too. It'll be good. I'm still going to withhold all of my full declaration of who I think everyone is going to be and how they're going to do, maybe for another week or so. But I think we're going to have a much clearer vision on what it's going to be after this.
I need to see one conference game.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't just see the non-conference. I need to see one conference game. How do you match up in conference?
Yep.
Before I declare how I think everybody's going to do.
Same.
And we have a conference game to talk about today.
We do.
So that's exciting.
Absolutely, it is.
All right.
Cool.
Should we get into these games?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So we are going to do these games in the order that they are going to happen this coming weekend. First up, the Friday games. We have the Western Illinois Leathernecks visiting the Indiana Hoosiers. This is a 6 p.m. game on the Big Ten Network, and there is no line because there often aren't lines when they're playing FCS teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you just have to kind of imagine for yourself. So, John, fun fact, the Leathernecks are the only non-military institution that has a military team nickname.
I did not know that.
I remember that from when the Gophers played them a few years ago.
That's right. Huh.
And I remember thinking, why are they the Leathernecks? That seems weird. But yeah, they like some dude just was like, hey, can we be the Leathernecks? And the Army was like, okay, sure, whatever, go for it, have a good time.
All right.
So that's how they ended up there.
Cool.
Anyway, Western Illinois is coming off a 54-15 loss to Northern Illinois, in which they didn't score a touchdown until the final few minutes of garbage time. The game was a total shellacking. NIU had twice as many first downs as Western Illinois had. NIU rolled up, John, get this, over 700 yards of offense, including 394 passing and 312 rushing. So it was balanced.
Wow.
They also completed nearly 80% of their passes. Northern Illinois quite simply did whatever they wanted, and Western Illinois couldn't stop it. So Indiana's going to be able to run the ball at will. They just are. For me, this game's all about getting Curtis Rourke into a rhythm. There were some errant passes and drop balls in game one. Let's see Indiana clean that up against the worst opponent they will see all year. So I want this to be Curtis Rourke's coming out party. That's what I'm calling for.
Love it. I agree, man. I think this is just going to be a nice way to get him comfortable and put up some yards and make him, score some points and make it so he really understands the system and he can find some other targets down the field and get that running game going too. And honestly, I think from what I remember in the spring game, I think they've got a couple good running backs that I'd like to see be able to carry the ball. So just get the experience. Why not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'm excited. You can see a lot of different people, other playmakers, and kind of see what they can do and how they're going to fit into this offense for the rest of the year. So I think we're going to get a really good idea this week of what Curt Cignetti wants to do and who he wants to get the ball to the most often. Like, I think we're going to see that, and that'll be exciting.
I expect him to be out either way, but I am curious to see how McCauley looks, if he's on the sideline or what's going on with him.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I've heard, so I poked into that a little bit, and from the sources I have close to the program, and by close to the program, I mean hardcore fans who read everything. Apparently the rumor is that they're going to hold him out regardless, just because it's a bad team.
Yeah, which I would too.
Which makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right. John, I have got Indiana 55, Western Illinois 10.
Okay. I love that. I hope Cignetti is that aggressive. I hope he just is lighting them up left and right. I think it's possible.
I mean, NIU did it, man.
They did.
NIU is an average MAC team.
That's true. Yeah.
So if they did that, I'm kind of like looking at them and I'm like, all right, Indiana, that's the bar. So some of this, do I think that he's going to cover this? I don't know, but I want to see him try. And Cignetti seems like the kind of guy who will put his foot on your throat when he feels like it. So I don't know, but maybe he's not. Maybe he's not that kind of guy at all. I'm really curious to find out.
I am too. I'm going to go a little bit more conservative because, and this is just me hoping that he incorporates the run game more and gets some guys going. Not that I don't want to see Curtis Rourke get some solid experience as well. I want it to be balanced, but I want to see. I think it's going to be more like 42-10.
Sure.
I think. But the thing is I think Indiana is going to be in control like the entire time, and maybe just like one blown coverage, and they manage to somehow squeak in a field goal at maybe in garbage time or something like that. But that's it. But I think Indiana runs away with it easily.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, moving on to the next game. We have the Duke Blue Devils at the Northwestern Wildcats. This is an 8 p.m. game on FS1. Northwestern is favored by 2.5, which means on the neutral field, this would be a coin flip. It's anticipated to be a very close game. John, you had this one.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very close game. Both teams seemed to struggle at the quarterback position last week. I was not super impressed with Malik Murphy. He's a big dude. He throws a really
Yeah,
nice ball,
huge.
but he just does not make a lot of great decisions.
Sure.
Clearly an athlete, but just he doesn't seem confident in the pocket. He just always seems like he's a little lost on the field and doesn't quite understand the offense quite yet, is what it seems to me. It's like he's still always playing catch up.
Sure.
They played
Which is
Elon.
fair. He's learning a new system.
Yeah, totally. So, they played Elon, and it seemed a little closer than it should have. I think that Elon, the biggest problem I see here is I think their offense is going to be, comparable to Northwestern. They've got a few weapons out there. I think Jordan Moore is going to be the main target at wide receiver. And they also have another running back that looks like he's pretty serviceable. But the problem I saw here with the offense, which is again just like kind of like Northwestern, they didn't even score a touchdown until the end of the first half. It was
sure
pretty brutal. Not
against
very impressive.
Elon.
Yeah, against Elon. So
yeah,
the problem is their defense. I saw them having too much trouble against the run. Elon was able to make some plays, and they were able to run on them more than they should have. I do think that they got better as it went on. I think their pass rush is pretty solid.
Yeah,
But
they had 8 sacks, didn't they?
Yeah, well, their pass rush is great. They just aren't good at stopping the run. So it's a little odd,
and that kind of plays into Northwestern's hands because
Yep.
they want to run and grind you.
And that's where I'm thinking that Northwestern has a bit of an edge with Mike Wright being able to run the ball pretty well.
Yeah.
So I think that might help Northwestern here. Now, Mike Wright, not so much with Cam Porter. So it's gonna be a battle of bad offenses from what I'm seeing, and whose defense comes out on top. I think what you're going to want to see with Northwestern is if they are going to throw the ball, they're going to want to just do a lot of quick passes. That seems to be pretty effective. Not a lot downfield was coming through, but again, it was Elon, so who knows? It's not a lot to glean here with Duke, but I do think it's going to be a close game. They seem like they're very similar. So for me, I have Northwestern winning 17-16.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've got the Northwestern Wildcats 17, the Duke Blue Devils 13.
Wow.
So yeah, I also see a low scoring affair. I think it's gonna be kind of a slugfest. Neither offense distinguished themselves. They're still kind of finding themselves on offense, both these teams, which is understandable at this point of the year. A lot of teams are trying to find themselves, particularly offensively at this time of the year. So it'll be interesting to see which team takes a bigger step this week.
Yeah.
Because they're pretty, based on what happened last week, it feels pretty evenly matched.
Yeah.
And will it be, that'll be something to watch. And hey, this is on Friday night. So this will be a game to watch. I'm excited to have this one.
The one thing I'll also give Northwestern a little bit of the edge on is I do think they played a better team. I think Miami of Ohio was a better team than Elon. And
unquestionably.
And although both teams struggled, to see Duke struggle that much against Elon at times, again, makes my decision leaning towards Northwestern.
Yeah, Miami, I want to say, won the MAC last year, or they were like 11-3.
Yeah, they were there, man. They had to be at the cusp of winning if they didn't. So sorry,
I think they won it. I'll double check that and correct a different point.
But this is a Big Ten podcast, so don't go after us for not knowing what happened in the MAC.
Yeah,
exactly.
We're not studying that league in depth. Although I have nothing but respect for it. People hate on the MAC a lot. The MAC is better football than you think it is.
Absolutely,
no question about that. All right, should we move on to the big one?
Yes.
The big noon, the Fox big noon game. The number 3 Texas Longhorns going to Ann Arbor to the Big House to visit the number 10 Michigan Wolverines. This is the big noon game on Fox, which means it's at 11 a.m. Central Time, and that's God's time. Texas eviscerated Colorado State in week 1, 52-0. Longhorns' Quinn Ewers was very solid, going 20 for 27 for 260 yards on 9.6 yards per attempt, 3 TDs and a pick. Arch Manning, the algorithm likes Arch Manning, so we're going to say his name a bunch of times probably anytime he comes up.
Oh, yeah, Arch Manning, did he play?
Yeah, Arch
Or did
Manning
Arch Manning
actually
sit out?
completed 5 of 6 of his passes for 95 yards, 15.8 yards per attempt, and a touchdown in garbage time. So
Wow, good job,
I think
Arch
it's safe
Manning.
to say that Arch Manning remains the most popular backup quarterback in America.
I think so. I think Arch Manning will probably remain that for the entire season.
Yeah, as long as Quinn Ewers is healthy, Arch Manning will be the number 1 player not playing in the country. There's no
Arch
question
Manning.
about it. All right. All right. The Longhorns' top running backs ran for well over 5 yards per carry. Ewers and Manning spread the ball around, connecting with, get this, 11 different receivers over the course of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still curious to see how the pecking order comes out at receiver at Texas. They've got transfers Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden, who contributed in game 1, but so did Ryan Wingo. So who steps into the shoes of the top couple wide receivers on this team? Like, I think that's still to be determined. So I'm curious to see how that shakes out. I think we'll find out against Michigan who they're scheming to try to get open. And I'm also wondering if we see more from the transfer tight end, Amari Niblack, in this Michigan game. I think that's a possibility. You're going to use the tight end more in a game like this. Texas no longer has the second best pair of defensive tackles in the country like they did last year, which was only, I'd say, behind Michigan, who still has their defensive tackles. Spoiler alert. But they're still plenty talented on defense. Linebacker Anthony Hill had a nice opening game and will be the linchpin in the middle for them. Sophomore Malik Muhammad is a star at cornerback. Texas has an elite kicker in Bert Auburn, which is a good football name.
That's a great one.
Auburn. He sounds like a 70s movie star, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Bert Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't see him with the sideburns and like big hat.
Mustache.
Mustache. Sure. The whole thing, dude.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Wolverines, for their part, battled with a plucky Fresno State Bulldog squad in a close game for most of the night before Michigan blew them out in the fourth quarter. Davis Warren, quarterback for Michigan, looks to bounce back from a mediocre debut in which he completed 15 of 25 passes for just 118 yards, 1 TD and a pick. Woof. That is not going to get it done in the Big Ten, John. Expect Warren to bounce back in a big way this week. And if he doesn't, expect Alex Orji to re-enter the quarterback competition at Michigan. That's what I think is going to happen. This is a huge week for Davis Warren. He's got to prove he can be the guy, John.
Mm-hmm.
If Davis Warren cannot get them there throwing the ball, then I think they'll try to go run heavy with Alex Orji and just go really run heavy and try to just pound teams. Like, I think Michigan wants to pound you anyway, but I think it might go into like a different orbit if they have to resort to Alex Orji. So this is a big deal. I think this is the game for Davis Warren. Like, he's got to play well.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think that this is a big deal for Michigan. They want to show after last week, their not so stellar performance, that they can still be in that contention for a national title. You know, they want to show that they can be up there. Obviously, I think they're going to be a shoo-in for the college football playoff, but people still want to see them at that national title contending caliber.
You think Michigan's a shoo-in for the college football playoff?
As of right now, I do.
Interesting.
I think
they could get there. Like, I'm not saying they can't. I don't know. There are very few teams I would call shoo-ins right now.
Fair enough. That's fair. I think I'm basing it off of I think this defense is still going to be insanely good.
Yeah, better than they showed against Fresno State, I think.
Yes. So I'm just saying that I think that they still have the ability to get there. Obviously, there's still question marks at quarterback and who their wide receiver is going to be. I think Edwards is going to get his crap together because he usually does all of a sudden.
He likes the bright lights.
Yes, he
'Cause
does.
he's been inconsistent, and he was bad last week.
Mm-hmm.
They leaned on Khalil Mullings because Donovan Edwards couldn't do anything with his carries. So against Texas, Donovan Edwards, you can't be playing on, if this were the video game, you can't have it on freshman mode. You got to have it on Heisman mode, locked in, buddy.
That's right.
Like, you got to get it done because Michigan needs you this week.
Yeah.
If Michigan can't run the ball against Texas, then it's not going to go great.
That's true. That's true. Well, we're going to know for sure after this game. Texas is an amazing team.
Fantastic team.
So I think it's going to be really fun to watch. I think it's going to be close. But what do you got this team or got this game going at?
Well, I'll give you a score in a minute. I just want to finish up saying, like at Texas, I want to know what the hierarchy is at receiver for Michigan.
Yeah.
We know Colston Loveland is great.
Yep.
Is it going to be Samaj Morgan, Tyler Morris, Frederick Moore? Somebody's got to step up and be the guy for Michigan. And he's got to step up and do it this week against Texas when they need a bunch of plays.
Mm-hmm.
So who are those guys? There's going to be one or two who are going to step to the front. Who is that going to be?
Yep.
Because Colston Loveland is great, but he can't do everything for you. He's one guy.
Yep. No, I totally agree.
And then my two questions. Will Michigan's defensive line dominance return after that game against Fresno State when they played way below? I don't think they played hard enough. I don't think they were playing that hard. I just don't.
Well, we've seen what they look like when they do.
Yeah, they're terrorizing.
Yeah.
And they weren't on Saturday. So yeah. And then can Michigan's passing game truly get going? Because they're going to need to score points to keep up with Texas, John. They're not going to get there just running the ball.
That's true. Yeah.
All right. Now scores.
Okay.
I've got the Michigan Wolverines 17, the Texas Longhorns 24. So I've got Texas winning. I don't want that, as much as I don't generally root for Michigan under any circumstances against Texas. I hope I'm wrong and that Michigan wins.
Yeah, unfortunately, right now, I think Michigan is going to play harder on the defensive side.
Oh yeah, way harder.
I think on the defensive side of the ball, they're going to show up in a big way, and they're going to look scary again, and they're going to push Texas around for a while.
Yes.
But I don't think Michigan's offense is going to have enough juice. And I agree. I think that this is going to come to a close loss for Michigan. I have it Texas 24, Michigan 17.
Shut up. You had the same score?
Yep.
That's hilarious.
Yep.
We don't talk about the scores in advance.
Mm-mm.
So we're finding out on the air. So we see this exactly the same. Well, John, that's boring. We got to do better disagreeing.
Sorry.
We got to disagree more so we can yell at each other. I can shake my fist.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. But here's the thing I'll say. Texas is closer to a finished product than Michigan is.
Yeah.
So what Michigan is in 2 or 3 weeks or 6 weeks could be totally different than what Michigan is right now. So it might be one of those things where Texas is catching Michigan at the time they need to catch them to be able to beat them. Because I do think this Michigan team has a lot of potential.
I agree. I think that's kind of why I do think I'm still, even though I have Michigan losing this game, I am not high on them. I'm still very, very high on them. I think they can absolutely make the college football playoff, kind of like I said before. But I agree. I think that they're just still kind of getting used to this. They lost a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball, and so it's going to be an adjustment. This is not a new thing. So, I think Texas is definitely catching them at a really good time.
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Moving on, we have another 11 a.m. Saturday game. These are all Saturday games from now on. 11 a.m. We have the Bowling Green Falcons coming to play at the number 8 Penn State Nittany Lions in Beaver Stadium on the Big Ten Network.
Mm-hmm.
Line is Penn State by 34.5. So Bowling Green won comfortably against Fordham, 41-17 last week. Former IU QB Connor Bazelak is the starter at Bowling Green. He was fairly efficient, going 15 for 22 for 168 yards on 7.6 yards per attempt. Nothing spectacular, but he got the job done. Running back Tyrion Stewart had 14 carries for 161 yards and 11.5 yards per carry. So he's the bell cow. He's the focal point of the offense. It's going to be up to Penn State to stop him and force Bowling Green to throw the ball. Penn State's looking for even more pop from their offense this week. They had a good start last week against Westphal, but I sense the Penn State fans are still a little bit restless, still feeling a little bit, dare I say, disrespected. And I think they want to see an explosive, dominant win to remind the world that they are, in fact, coming. And I think they get such a win.
Yeah. I agree. I don't know. I mean, maybe I haven't read the right things. I'm sure Penn State fans, because they've been in this 10-2 world for so long, in the shadow of Ohio State and Michigan for a long time. And now USC pulls out this signature win and it overshadows Penn State's win against West Virginia. So,
totally overshadowed it.
Yeah.
Which was still a very nice win.
It was still a very nice win.
Yeah.
So I think Penn State wants to and needs to make more noise. Not to say, that this is some great test, but this needs to be an utterly dominant performance. And I think they will be able to accomplish that here.
Yeah, for sure. What do you got for a score?
I have Penn State 42, Bowling Green 10.
All right. I have Penn State 49, Bowling Green 10.
Okay.
I think they score probably late. I think Bowling Green might get a field goal early and maybe a touchdown late.
Yeah.
That's how I see that going down.
Sure.
All right. Moving right along. We have also at 11 a.m., John, a game you and I will both be attending. We've got the Rhode Island Rams going to visit the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
The vaunted Rhode Island Rams, by the way.
Yes. Fear the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
There's no line because this is an 11 a.m. game on Peacock. And there's no line because it's an FCS thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, John, first of all, when's the last time we went to a game together? Because I want to say it's like 2012.
Probably something like that.
It was homecoming. I think Marquise Gray had been moved to receiver because he kept getting hurt playing quarterback, I want to say.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
Was it like...
And we were going to win the game and made a number of mistakes, as I recall, on a rainy day.
Yeah. I was it Northwestern?
Yes.
It was
Northwestern.
Was that Dan Persa era or...
No, this is way later. Persa's
way
like
later,
2006.
Right?
This is way later.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
I want to say this is like... Oh, man. I'm not sure. Maybe Kane Coulter, but I'm not positive. Don't quote me.
That sounds right, though. That sounds right.
Don't quote me on that, though. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Well, somewhere in that
it was somewhere in that era.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a minute. So it's going to be fun to go to a game together.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to cheer for the Golden Gophers.
Yep.
So Rhode Island last week, John, or this past week, won a thriller against Holy Cross 2017 in the opener. QB Devin Farrell had a really nice day, going 20 for 33 for 287 yards and 2 TDs and 0 picks. Farrell was also the Rams' leading rusher with 54 yards on 4.2 yards per carry. So he's the focal point of the offense. Mm-hmm. It's up to the Gophers to make the Rams one-dimensional, force them to throw, and then slow down wide receivers like Marquise Buchanan and Greg Gaines. Rams also, John, had 6 fumbles last week. So you can bet the Gophers will be trying to take the ball away. Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. We could talk about what worked and what didn't work on offense and how Daniel Jackson kind of got going, but they didn't feature him enough because Brosmer wasn't accurate enough early in the game. He was accurate later in the game. Or the fact that the running back play was pretty good without Darius, but not great. or the fact that the veteran offensive line very much underperformed in the first game. But man, I think Minnesota's angry.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Gophers are frustrated. I think they're hungry. And I think we're going to see Minnesota take out all its frustration from last week on these Rhode Island Rams. I expect Minnesota to run the ball a ton, but also take shots in the passing game to get this passing game more cohesive before Iowa comes to town in a couple weeks. If I had to guess, I think it's going to be something like 25 passes to like 40 runs. And if Minnesota plays good enough defense, they should be able to get 65 plus snaps to make that all possible. So that's how I see this game playing out. John, what do you think? What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I see it going one of two ways. I see it your way, but then the trauma inside of me from being a Gopher fan, and especially under PJ Fleck, sees PJ being even more conservative and running the ball almost the entire time and not trusting in his quarterback, because that seems to be a thing he does. And I don't think he's going to turtle. I think he did let Max throw it more in the last game. I just don't. There's just too much evidence to seeing PJ do what PJ does, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm horribly wrong, and that he lets Brosmer get comfortable. He lets him sling it all over the field, whilst giving our running backs kind of spreading it around is what I'm hoping for. You can probably put money out there, everybody, that Darius is not going to play.
There's no way they're playing Darius in this game, right?
No. I don't think there's a shot.
Why would they even bother?
No, I don't think there's a shot that Darius is going to see the field. They're going to save him for Iowa. He might see some
he'll
snaps.
play against Nevada. They'll have to, because he was very close to playing last week. And you don't want to put him in there and have his first reps the whole year be against Iowa.
Yeah, I was just going to say he'll probably maybe be on like a pitch count for the Nevada game or something like that.
Yeah, I could see them giving him like 10 or 15 carries and then calling it good.
Yeah. But I want to see Sia Bangura. I want to see more Marcus Major as well. And I want to see a little bit of Jordan Newman too here and there. I want to see everybody get some reps, get comfortable. I want to see a spread around the field. I got to see Elijah Spencer get better. I just do, man.
He's just got to catch the ball, man. He gets open.
Yep. He gets open.
He's just got to catch the ball.
And I want to see more targets for Lemecki. I want to see Brockington get some more targets. I want to see
more targets for Daniel Jackson. He's our best receiver.
Fair.
It's not. He's our number one receiver, a receiver who had over 800 yards last year, and he had 55 in the opener. That's not enough. He should have 100 yards every game.
I agree. I guess like for what I'm saying is just I want to see everybody get some experience. But you're right. Yeah. I think Daniel Jackson could use it probably the most. We want to make sure he's good to go, and also having that connection with Brosmer for sure, because we're going to need that throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Yep. Defensively, man, I just want to see tackling. I want to see tackling get better.
Yep. That was really because the defense played pretty well. It was just some cleaning up some missed tackles here and there.
Yep.
And I saw the defensive coordinator Heatherman talking about it and saying it was the difference between 3.6 yards a carry and 2 yards a carry.
Yeah.
And that, if we hold them to 2 yards a carry, then Minnesota wins that game going away.
Yep.
So I think you'll see a really big focus on tackling this week. I would expect the Gophers to tackle better.
I expect them to tackle better. I want to see them disciplined. I don't want to see penalties at all. No. Nothing stupid, no dumb mistakes. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Not that like it's going to matter that much against Rhode Island, I think, but I don't want to see anything. It has to be a clean game.
But this fan base is like scarred after what happened, after losing on what should have been a winning walk-off field goal, walk-off missed field goal. So like you got to make sure that they play the rouser a bunch of times. You got to give the crowd something to cheer about. You got to throw, you got to make it fun. And like get this crowd back in, because that was a brutal loss.
Yep.
So you want to bounce back from that in a big way. And so I'd say, make sure you score some points and they play the rouser a bunch, I would say, PJ.
Yep. I agree. So what do you got for the score?
I've got the Minnesota Golden Gophers 41, the Rhode Island Rams 3.
All right. Well, I've got two scores because I have two.
Because
I
you have
have one.
your two potential outcomes.
Yes.
Right.
The one I want, I
Okay.
have, I have Minnesota 45 to Rhode Island's 3.
Nice.
But what if PJ goes into his turtle and does his thing and just runs the ball and salts the game away and doesn't, do anything essentially? We still win, but I see 24-3, which would be an utter disappointment, PJ. That would
Yeah,
be
that's not okay. That would
that
not
is
be
not
okay.
acceptable.
It's not. It's
Period.
not after. Not against this team. Not right now. Not with the amount. You saw what Iowa went out and did, PJ. You got Iowa in 2 weeks. All right. You saw what they went out and did. They went out and dropped 40 points. Yeah, it was against a terrible team, but now you're playing a terrible team.
Yep. You got to do the
So
same.
you got to go out and prove that you can score 40 points.
Yep. Or close to it. If you get 38, okay. But like anything less than that, I'm not going to be happy.
No, it's true. It's true. If it's anything in like the 20s, it would be a terrible disappointment.
Yep.
And frustration against a team that Minnesota should be superior to at every position.
I agree.
That's how these games work against these FCS teams generally. When you're not playing, this isn't one of the Dakota schools or one of the Montana schools. This is just a very average FCS team.
Yep. All right.
You think PJ Fleck is listening to the podcast?
He better be, man.
He must be.
Yes.
I think so. All right. Moving on. We have the Akron Zips visiting the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. This is an 11 a.m. game on the Big Ten Network, and Rutgers is a 22.5-point favorite.
Yeah, there's not a lot to say about this game. Poor Akron had to face Ohio State in their first game, so they just got absolutely ran off the field. There wasn't much to say. I guess like their first drive, they were moving the ball pretty well against Ohio State. But after that, it was just it was all downhill from there real quick. So I don't have a lot to say here. I think Rutgers is going to be just fine. I think Kyle Monangai is going to do exactly what Kyle Monangai does, and he's going to look like the superstar that he is against this defense. I think Athan is gonna look above average like he did last week, and it's just there's nothing really to worry about, I think, in this game. Now, if Rutgers doesn't show up, I think there's some potential for some danger here. Defensively, Rutgers is going to have to just watch for a mobile mobile quarterback, and I think that's really it, and look out for the option. But I think they're going to be able to key on that. I mean, they got Flip Dixon back there, who's always looking out for that, and he's just a freaking monster, so I'm not worried about that. Essentially, I think Rutgers should just run away with this. I don't think Akron's really got a chance. Do I think they're going to get blown out as bad as they did against Ohio State? No, but I think Rutgers is just going to take care of business. No problem here.
All right. What do you got for a score?
I've got Rutgers beating Akron 35-10.
All right. I have Rutgers 31, Akron 7.
Okay.
So covering, but just barely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up, we have the Iowa State Cyclones visiting the number 21 Iowa Hawkeyes. And it is the 2:30 p.m. game on CBS. This is where you put in the trumpet noises. I didn't say that's good. You pulled that out in the minute. I didn't expect you to actually do it.
I was just hoping it wasn't going to be the wrong one. I was like, that's the one, right? Yeah. Okay.
No, that's the one. That is the one. That was good. Iowa is favored by 2.5 in this game. So once again, this would be a virtual coin flip on a neutral field. This rivalry game is expected to be pretty bonkers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Iowa State came out against North Dakota, an FCS team, not North Dakota State, everyone, just in case you're don't get that confused.
But still a decent FCS program.
Absolutely. Yeah. Pretty good. They came out looking amazing. I mean, just a huge pass play right off the bat to Jalen Knoll, which led immediately to a touchdown pass. They looked like they were going to absolutely run away with it. Running back Sama had like this incredible hurdle on a big run. He looked very explosive. The offense essentially just looked fantastic. Jalen Knowles got a ton of speed. And you also had Higgins out there. You had Eli Green. They're definitely going to be some of the main targets here. I think Knoll is going to be the main one. Higgins is a close second. And so there's just a lot of, it looks like there's some decent talent at wide receiver. And the quarterback play was pretty solid. And the running back, I was impressed. But they started to kind of, it wasn't consistent play. That was the thing. It was explosive at times, and then all of a sudden just petered out. And then it would become explosive again, and then it would peter out. So, but again, first game of the season, I get it. North Dakota isn't like an amazing opponent, but they aren't just the worst of the worst in the FCS. So it's understandable that they had a few hiccups here. The problems I saw were, do you want to mention something about the offense?
No, I just think that they're a better program in the FCS than you give them credit for.
You're probably right.
Yeah, but go on.
I mean, I remember them from the Jim Kleinsasser days, which was terrifying.
Yeah.
So you're right. What was scary was the defense with Iowa State. I think there's some problems at the D-line. North Dakota was able to run the ball pretty
really? They only scored 3 points, but they ran the ball on them. Huh?
They ran the ball, but then they would always peter out, down the field or towards the red zone. Yeah. And that's when, so it was more like their defense is like a bend, don't break type of thing.
Yeah. But against an FCS team, you don't want to be bending you don't want to be doing that. You don't want to be bending too far.
Exactly. Like, I think they were obviously able to hold their own against North Dakota, but I'm not sure they're going to be able to do that against what we've now seen as a successful, or assuming successful passing game with Caden McNamara looking a lot better. And we're going to be able to see some more plays here, I think, with Cade and Lachey and Ostrenga, which I think what's going to hurt, to me, what looked like Iowa State's defense when it came to protecting against the passing game was the short passes, like the short pass routes across the middle, which is exactly what Iowa does all the time. So overall, I know that the score was what the score was, but I wasn't super impressed with their defense. And like I said, they had a hard time stopping the run. It just, I don't know. I've got good. I think their offense is going to be good against Iowa. I think they're going to be able to do okay for a time, but then Iowa's defense is going to be able to shut them down. It is going to be a close game. I think Iowa's offense is going to be able to do just enough. I shouldn't say just enough. I think they're going to do the score is going to be close, but I think that Iowa's offense is going to be looking pretty good. Is the way I kind of see this game going out, because it's also a rivalry game, and that's just the way it always plays out with these two teams.
Yeah. So what do you have for a score?
I have Iowa beating Iowa State 20-17.
Okay. I've got Iowa 17, Iowa State 14.
Okay.
I think it's going to be grinding. I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be low scoring, but ultimately Kirk Ferentz has better players on the line of scrimmage than Matt Campbell does.
Yeah.
I think that's the difference ultimately.
Yeah.
Because I think Iowa State has pretty good skill players and all that kind of stuff. And I think they're a gritty team. But Iowa's got the best unit in this game is the Iowa defense. And I just think Iowa's better up front than Iowa State is.
I agree.
And that's going to, in the fourth quarter, they're going to wear them down and be able to have a drive late and score to win.
Yeah. And I just think Iowa's going to the score will be close, but I think they're going to be in control of the entire game.
Yeah. It's going to be one of those games where you feel like Iowa's winning by more than they are.
Exactly.
Yeah. I could see that. All right. Big rivalry game, Cyhawk. So that'll be interesting to see how that one goes. I'm excited to watch that.
Me too.
Next up, we have the Michigan State Spartans visiting the Maryland Terrapins. It's a 2:30 p.m. game on the Big Ten Network. Line is Maryland by 8.5.
Oof, this game, man. This is huge for Sparty. This is a massive, massive game. Yes, it's big for Maryland as well. But after last week against Florida Atlantic, Michigan State has a lot to prove, and they got to prove that they can get better real quick.
Real quick.
Because this Maryland team, I understand they played UConn, which was terrible. UConn is awful.
Yes.
But this Maryland team has weapons everywhere. And although I'm not sold on their offensive line yet, I still got to see it, which maybe I think they'll have more of a test this week.
But I'm even less sold on this Spartan defensive line.
Yes, that's where it goes. I was just going to say that. I'm not expecting. Let's just say this: Maryland, just keep doing exactly what you're doing on both sides of the ball. You looked phenomenal. You looked in it. Billy Edwards Jr. looked locked in. He knows the system. He knows the offense. He is there. He's making plays on the run. It was like watching a video game last week. And they're Prather, and you got all of their receivers that are just in Felton. So, and you got Roman Hemby. You got a new kid that's also an amazing running back, or looked like an amazing running back against UConn. So, Maryland, I'm not really worried about you. You looked fantastic. And frankly, I expect you to look fantastic again this week. I think the Terrapins are going to look amazing. I think Loxley is going to just continue to throw the ball all over the place. They'll run well enough to keep Sparty honest. Now going to Sparty, man, offensively, they just got to be better everywhere. It was a mess. Childs was lost. It was scary. It was messy. It was rough stuff. So the offense, I don't know what else to say other than I got to see improvement somewhere. Because I didn't see much, and I don't think you're going to fare well against this Maryland defense. Now on the defensive side of the ball for Sparty, I was looking for something, and I gotta say, and we talked about it. The one thing I'll say is I do think that they looked more organized than last year, and Joe Rossi can put together a scheme that might be able to keep Maryland from scoring 1 million points.
Yeah,
but not to stop them.
Yeah.
Because there's just not the talent on the field, and that's just the way it is right now. But Joe Rossi will make the best out of what he has. So I have more faith in their defense, but I've got almost none in their offense right now.
Yeah.
So my score prediction is Maryland 38, Michigan State 13.
All right. Interesting. I've got Maryland 28, Sparty 10. So I think that Michigan State's defense will have some success in the red zone. But not keeping Maryland. I think Maryland's still going to be moving it more or less up and down the field.
Mm-hmm.
And Aiden Childs, man, woof. I don't believe in him at this point. He looks like he's in way over his head, and the fact that everyone is playing so poorly around him, he kind of doesn't have a chance.
Yeah. It's rough.
All right, moving right along. Got Eastern Michigan at Washington. This is a 2:30 p.m. game on the Big Ten Network. The line is Washington 25.5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this game, I'll start with Eastern Michigan here. Last week they beat a pretty bad UMass team, 28-14. They had 241 passing yards, 17 out of 29 completion, 8.3 yard per pass. They had 8 runs for first downs, 35 rushes for 134 yards, 3.8 yards per rush, with a total of 375 yards on offense. UMass was able to run on them for about 152 yards, 3.7 yards per rush, 41 rushes, with about 329 yards total, with 177 yards of those coming from passing. And but Eastern Michigan was able to get 6 sacks for minus 33 yards. So defense was definitely getting in the backfield. Their offense was all right, but it's UMass.
So UMass is bad. Yeah.
They're really bad.
Real bad.
And I think if UMass was able to run for 152 yards, I am just waiting to see what Coleman is going to do against Eastern Michigan, because that's who we're going to see a lot of. I think that Washington is going to run the ball. I think that they are going to wear this Eastern Michigan defense down early and then open up the pass in the second half. And I think Will Rogers will be able to find plenty of guys open. And I think their defense is going to be able to hold up well against Eastern Michigan. The offense is nothing that incredible. Obviously, they looked okay against UMass, but it's UMass. I just think they just got more horses on the field, and Eastern Michigan is going to struggle here.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm. So I have Washington beating Eastern Michigan 35-6.
All right, I've got Washington 28, Eastern Michigan 3.
Okay.
So I think it's convincing but unspectacular.
Yeah.
Moving on, we have the South Dakota Coyotes visiting the Wisconsin Badgers. It's a 2:30 p.m. game on FS1. No line again because of the FCS. South Dakota Coyotes got their season off on the right foot last week, defeating Northern State 45-3. They got an efficient, if unspectacular, day from their QB, who went 9 for 12 for 85 yards. The running game is where they made their hay, going for 266 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's what Wisconsin has to do in this game. They have to stop the running game. The passing game is not the focus of the offense, and if they can make them pass, it's going to be a long day for South Dakota. Much like Minnesota, Wisconsin was disjointed on offense in week 1. We need to see Tyler Van Dyke play a little better, John.
Yeah,
he was just 21 for 36 in week 1, completing just 55% of his passes for a paltry 5.3 yards per attempt. That is bad. That's a really bad. Yeah, those are all bad numbers. He wants to see that yards per attempt skyrocket this week as he'll try to get wide receivers Will Pauling and Bryson Green further involved in the passing game. That's absolutely essential, I think, is to get that passing game going this week. Because if you don't get it going this week, then I don't know when you're going to get it going. Because you got Alabama coming to town next week. So you got to get that passing game going a little bit if you're going to have any chance to keep up with the Tide. Ches Malusi had an underwhelming week 1, although honestly, I thought he played well. It's the O-line in front of him that I don't think was opening holes. So he went for just 74 yards on 3.9 yards per carry in week 1. I think Wisconsin's going to wear South Dakota down with a lot of carries for Malusi. I think they want to get Malusi and Tawi Walker into a rhythm before they have to play Alabama in week 3. So I've got Wisconsin 42, South Dakota 6.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think that we just need to see more. This has to be a get-right game for Tyler Van Dyke and the entire team, frankly, because that was just too close for comfort. I know the score may not have reflected that, but it was.
They were losing in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, that was
to a MAC team. Yeah,
absolutely. It was pretty scary there for a while. So and they lucked out at the end with that punt. But yeah, so this has to be a get right game. I agree. I think Malusi is great. I think he's always been great, but he just needs an offensive line that's going to be able to open up those holes for him and allow him to get through and do what he does. But Tyler Van Dyke needs to show up. He needs to do better. That offensive line has to do better. I think the defense is going to be more than fine in this game. I'm not too worried. I think they're going to continue to get better as well. But yeah, man, it's a get right game, and I think they'll be able to do it as well. And what was your score again?
42-6.
42-6. Okay. Yeah, I've got this 35 to 10. I think they're going to do better. I'm just not sold on this offensive line or Tyler Van Dyke yet. I think they're going to look okay against this team, but I think it's going to be a good win. The score is going to look great, but there's still going to be times where you're like, gritting your teeth and just like, oh no, this could still be bad. We won, and we won convincingly, but until we get to conference play, we'll see.
Because till they get to Alabama.
Well, sorry, yeah, Alabama, yeah.
Yeah, so that's next week. So Enjoy this week, Wisconsin fans, because that's gonna be a challenging but fun game, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't envy anybody who has to play Alabama. So
No, absolutely not. No reason to do that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next up, we have number 19 Kansas coming to Champaign to visit the Illinois Illini. This is a 6 p.m. game on FS1. The line is Kansas -5. I have this one circled as arguably the game of the week. Yeah, I'm even more excited for this one than for Texas at Michigan.
Same.
Because I think this game will define both team seasons to a large extent.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas is currently ranked and a Big 12 contender. They lose to Illinois, they will drop out of the rankings, and they should.
Yep.
Illinois needs to get back to a bowl after a rough season last year. The Illini absolutely need to beat Kansas to stay on a good trajectory for the postseason. So, star Kansas QB Jalen Daniels didn't do much in last week's win over Lindenwood. He was 9 for 15 for 148 yards, a TD, and a pick. But don't let that fool you. This guy's an absolute star in this system and showed that last year. He's a dual threat. He can run or throw against you on any play. And you have to stop him from breaking loose in the running game, or it's going to be a long day. You absolutely have to limit his running opportunities and his scramble opportunities, or he will just kill you. Star running back Devin Neal had a nice day last week in limited time with 112 yards and just 8 carries. He's the key to this ground game and an all-time Kansas Jayhawks great in his own right. For me, John, this comes down to how efficient can Illinois be offensively. Can they win the line of scrimmage? Can they run the ball consistently and shorten the game? That is their best chance to beat this high-flying Kansas team. They want to get the Jayhawks in a knockdown, drag-out, bare-knuckle brawl. Kansas wants to run its pretty offense and finesse you to death.
Mm-hmm.
It's a true example of the old saw that styles make fights, for sure.
Yep.
That said, whichever QB makes the most plays late in this game will probably win this one. This is a big stage for Luke Altmaier, John. The Illinois signal caller had a really good day last week against bad competition. Now, can Altmaier prove that he's improved and he can do it against legit competition?
Well, from what I can recall last year, and maybe I'm misremembering this year, but I think he looked pretty good at times against Kansas last year.
Yes.
He just didn't. His offensive line just didn't help him out much.
No.
So, if I am a betting man, Brett Bielema has improved that offensive line.
He says it's the best in his tenure at Illinois.
So if Luke Altmaier continues to get some protection, I think he can make some things happen. I think they've got a pretty solid 1-2 punch at running back. Fagan is just a beast.
It's a load.
So that's going to be tough. And I agree. I think that Burt is going to want to slow this down. He's going to want to drag them in the mud, and I think he will. And but are they going to be able to score enough points? That's going to be the question here. Are they going to be able to continue? Because they're going to have to throw the ball to keep up, I think, with Kansas. And because Kansas, I do think, is going to score points. But, is Burt going to be able to wear them down enough by this, sometime in the second half that maybe Kansas's defense just starts to kind of get gassed and then, Illinois takes over, I think, in the end. But we'll see. I'm not saying I think that's happening. I just think that this is going to be super close.
Yeah.
I don't know. I actually don't really know how this is going to go. This is a total coin flip game for me right now.
Yeah. I have no confidence in my pick.
No, none at all for me either. I think Illinois is going to be an improved team this year, but against Kansas, I'm not entirely sure. This is tough.
What do you have for a score?
Oh, gosh, I'm not confident in this at all. I have Illinois. I'm going to trust in you, Bert, because I have Illinois 20, Kansas 17.
That's funny. I have Illinois 21, Kansas 16.
Wow.
I just think they're going to man ball him. I don't think Kansas is ready for it. I think that they're going to lean on him. I think you're going to see the difference between a Big 10 offensive line and a Big 12 defensive line.
Yep.
And I think by the fourth quarter, all those body blows are going to add up, and Fagan is just going to be coming downhill, and it's going to be a Brett Bielema kind of ending.
That's exactly where my head's at as well. I think Bielema is just going to beat the crap out of them all game long, and then they're eventually just going to give up because.
And I think early in the game, Kansas is going to have the advantage.
Yeah.
I think early in the game, Kansas is going to look like it, but I think after they score once or twice, I think Illinois will buckle down and make it a lot harder for that offense.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll turn into a little more of a slog.
Yep. Totally agree.
All right, John, we got to disagree on more stuff.
I know.
We're not doing a good job. It's hard in the out of conference, though. It'll be easier in conference play. In conference play, we always disagree a lot more.
Yes. That's the problem right now.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of disparity between like competition too, like, obviously Kansas and Illinois not being that, but like, it seems a little bit more predictable in some of these games, but
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we have Western Michigan at number 2, Ohio State. This is a 6:30 p.m. game on the Big Ten Network. The line is Ohio State by 38. John, Western Michigan put up a hell of a fight against Wisconsin last week, even leading in the fourth quarter before a special teams debacle ended their chances. Can they do it twice in a row against Big Ten competition? QB Hayden Wolf was 12 for 18 last week for 141 yards and a pick. Western Michigan also struggled to run the ball against Wisconsin. Will it go any better against the Buckeyes? Absolutely not. Buckeyes roll. They're going to run on them. They're going to throw on them. This is going to be an unholy mess. And I don't have a ton to say, John. I think Will Howard's going to look great. I think we're going to find out more about what the pecking order is at wide receiver and if Jeremiah Smith is truly number 1, or if is it like a co-number 1 with Emeka Egbuka where it's the two of them? Or is it like, no, Jeremiah Smith is the top option and your preseason All-American Emeka Egbuka is number 2 now?
Could be
either way. So I'm curious to find out, what it looks like from that standpoint. I want to see Quinshon Judkins play better at running back. He didn't play very well last week. So that would be good for the Buckeyes to improve. They're going to need him. They need Travion's playing well, but they need a couple backs that are playing well in this Chip Kelly offense when they're going to be running the ball probably more than they're used to running the ball. So, yeah, I don't have a ton to say about this one, John. I got Ohio State 52, Western Michigan 10. I think Western Michigan blew a lot of energy on that Wisconsin game. I think they were they were in that, in the territory of pulling an upset, and to lose control of the game on a special teams play like that, that's really rough. So I just think Ohio State's better and Western Michigan's probably kind of worn down.
Yeah, I've got Ohio State 56 and Western Michigan 7. I think it's going to be just a bloodbath.
Yeah.
I don't see how it can be any other way right now.
No.
Not much else to say, to be honest.
Nope, me either. All right. No offense, Ohio State. We talk about you all the time, so don't be upset that your game got a short preview. I promise we'll give the review more time. All right, we have Boise State at Oregon. This is Big Ten After Dark, 9 p.m. kickoff on Peacock. Oregon is a 19.5 point favorite.
So this game is interesting. We all saw what happened with Oregon and Idaho last week, and it was
close, folks.
It was close. Dylan Gabriel was able to come out, and be able to do what he does, and win the game, of course. But it was close. It got a little scary at times. Now, what's interesting with this game is, and you're going to have to help me here if I'm mispronouncing his name, but they may have a lot of trouble coming their way at running back with Ashton Gianti. Unless he's hurt, because he did seem to. I don't know if he was down or if it was a cramp or whatever towards the end of the game. But this guy,
he's unreal.
267 yards, 6 TDs on 20 carries, This guy apparently squats 605. He's a freaking beast. He's a monster. He's strong
I
as
didn't
hell.
know that it was only on 20 carries.
Yes.
6 touchdowns on 20 carries. That's
Yep.
like a middle school game where you
That's
score
insane.
every third time you have the ball.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yep. And he is strong. He runs mean. He is brutal, this
Yeah.
guy. I mean, if he's not getting offers from bigger schools at this point in time, I'm sure.
You know he is, and I'm sure
they're
Boise
coming.
State is breaking the bank to keep him. Because
yeah.
wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you gotta, if he's healthy. Now they did have, their backup was pretty solid. I think is Sire Gaines. He's a true frosh. He also looked pretty good. But they're playing Georgia Southern. And it looks like wide receiver Caples might be their main target downfield. He's extremely athletic, so that's another one to watch out for. But here's the thing. Boise State scored 56 points, but they also allowed 45.
Yikes.
So here, and the passing game was okay, but obviously the running game is phenomenal. But that defense, not great. The secondary looked lost most of the time. They're better at stopping the run, but not that much better. Georgia Southern there were plenty of times it looked like Georgia Southern did have a lead at one point in time. It looked like they could have ran away with it. It was more back and forth than what you think. Those stats are insane. And obviously Gianti is incredible, but Georgia Southern was able to fight back and keep this really, really, really close because Boise State's offense or defense looked terrible.
Right.
So against that Oregon offense, I just don't see Boise State being able to hold up. I think they'll have some trouble with Gianti early, but then eventually they'll probably figure out a way to stop them, make them one-dimensional, because Oregon just has freaks all over the field.
Everywhere.
And I think that this is going to maybe be a little close, maybe the first half, and then Oregon is going to pull away substantially in the second half.
Yeah.
Because of that awful defense in Boise State. I think Gianti may have busted a couple good runs. He may look amazing if he's healthy, that is. I'm not sure what the injury was, but I saw him after one of his, I think it was his last touchdown run, which was, I don't know, it was like 70 yards or something crazy. Wow. It was video game. It looked like a video game.
Sure.
And he got into the end zone and he fell down and it looked like he was like pointing at his calf and he wasn't getting up. So
that was probably cramps.
That's what the announcer suspected it was cramps. So we'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think Oregon's going to be able to pull away and make this not as much of a close game. It may look like it at first, but I think they're going to out-talent Boise State. My score is Oregon 38, Boise State 17.
All right. And I have got the Oregon Ducks 51, Boise State Broncos 20.
Okay.
I'm kind of with you. I think Boise State does pretty well in the first half. And I think Oregon looks a little sluggish. And at halftime, people are like, oh, it's, it's a 10-point game or a 7-point game or whatever. And then Dan Lanning goes in at halftime and is like, what are you guys doing? What are we doing here? What are we doing? And then they come out and Oregon puts the hammer down.
Yeah.
But I do think Boise State scores some points because I think Boise State's going to score points on everybody this year.
Yeah, I agree.
And also I'll tell you what worries me about Oregon, John, with the injuries they had. I heard that they're currently starting a walk-on at center.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
So so when we talk about the struggles that Oregon's having on the line of scrimmage, I think that's kind of a big deal. And they really need, they need their starter back so that they can not be playing a walk-on on the offensive line.
And I agree. I'm just not that worried against Boise State's defensive line.
No. I'm not saying it's going to hurt them this week. I'm saying if Oregon is going to contend for a national title the way they want to contend, at some point they're going to need somebody better in the middle snapping the ball.
Totally agree.
Right on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, last game. We made it to Big Ten way after dark. John, we've got Utah State at number 13 USC, and this is a 10 p.m. Central kick on the Big Ten Network, 8 p.m. Pacific time. The line is USC negative 28 by 28 and a half. Utah State lost their coach to a scandal before the season even started, so not off to a good start there. Honestly, they're better off without him if the allegations are true, which we won't get into here on this podcast, but he said and did some ugly stuff. Let's leave it at that.
Sure.
Utah State was good in week 1 against Robert Morris, but this is a large step up in competition to number 13 USC from Robert Morris. Utah State is splitting time between Bryson Barnes and old Big Ten player Spencer Petras from Iowa, who had similar stats, the two of them, in last week's win over Robert Morris, although Petras, I always forget. Petras did throw two. I don't know.
I think that's Petras. I've always heard Petras. I think.
Sure. Did throw 2 picks to Barnes' 1 pick. That said, Utah State was prolific both throwing and running for the ball for over 300 yards last week. They will need to be efficient offensively again if they're going to keep pace, as USC has an insanely explosive offense led by star QB Miller Moss and the second best group of wide receivers in the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. This is a name your score kind of game, I think, John.
Yeah.
I expect USC to bludgeon Utah State. I've got the final 55-21.
Oh.
I do think Utah State's going to score some points. I do, because I just don't think that USC cares. A culture on defense is not built in a day.
Yeah.
And I think when they get up, they might be good to start the game, but at some point there's going to be either some lag early in the game or late in the game. At some point they're going to lag on defense for a while, and you're going to see Danton Lynn get upset about it, and then they'll probably play a little better.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I see that going.
Yeah, I do too. I have USC also 55 and Utah State at 17. I think they hold them to, keep them pretty modest, or keep the number pretty modest. But I also don't think the defense essentially still looks like fantastic. I think they do well, but I still think that there's going to be mistakes on the field.
Yes.
And it's going to look a little lazy.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah. So I think they hold them, and they look amazing, and the score makes them look amazing. But I think they're still going to, if you nitpick and you look at things a little closely, you're going to be like, oh, maybe when they play some, again, they play a better team, like with LSU, you're going to still see some broken coverages and things like that. So,
yeah. No, I think so too. What I want to see USC, obviously they're going to continue to utilize their star receivers, but I need to see more from Woody Marks in the running game.
Yes.
They did not run the ball well at all against LSU. In fact, they couldn't do it. I mean, they had the game winner was a running play, but they could not run the ball all day. Yep. So they're going to need to be able to run the ball in Big Ten play if they're going to have the kind of season that Lincoln Riley thinks USC can have.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to see USC run the ball this week. I want to see them run the ball efficiently and effectively.
Yeah, I want to see him do that, and maybe surprise us, and that defense looks absolutely shut down, and there's no mistakes whatsoever.
Yeah. Make it 55-0 instead of 55-21. Sure.
Yep.
That would put the world on notice a little bit, USC, for sure. Even more than beating. If you follow up beating LSU with shutting somebody out, that'll get people's attention.
Absolutely.
Because Miller Moss in this offense, man, they're going to score points every week.
Sure.
And it's going to be a matter of the teams that can play enough defense and play enough offense to keep up with them.
Yep. All right. That's it.
That's all the games.
Okay. Well, it's exciting.
I'm pumped about week 2 in the Big Ten. I feel like there's a lot of good games. There's a lot of measuring stick games.
Do we talk about
Nebraska, Colorado? Oh man, John, they're gonna think we did this on purpose.
I know they are. Well, whatever. Let them. It's okay.
No, let's talk about Nebraska, Colorado.
I literally was just looking the same thing.
Okay,
Another big game. Yeah.
another huge game.
Yep.
I forget what time it was at.
Sorry, Husker fans. Wasn't on purpose, believe me.
Absolutely not on purpose. Okay, so this is a 6:30 p.m. game on NBC and Peacock. So this is the 6:30 primetime NBC game. So the big night game. The line is Nebraska -7.5. Colorado won. Nebraska was impressive in a 47 win over UTEP this past week, whereas Colorado survived I think what was like 31-26 against NDSU.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a scare against NDSU. They needed some breaks down the stretch from the officials to get that win. So it was very, very close for Colorado. So they are playing with fire in week 1.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with Colorado and Nebraska is that Colorado not only can't run the ball, but they don't really even try to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
And Nebraska wants to be a lot more balanced.
Yeah.
Nebraska wants to be able to, because they don't want, as much as everyone's excited about how well Dylan Raiola played last week, and Dylan Raiola was really good. He threw a couple touchdown passes. He showed good placement. He's the first Husker quarterback to throw the ball downfield decently since Tommy Armstrong.
Probably. Sounds about right.
Right? Like, I don't think Adrian Martinez ever threw it accurately downfield.
Not like that, no.
No. So I think at least since Tommy Armstrong, that they had a quarterback who made you scared in that way at all. So that's really exciting for Nebraska. The question for me, John, in this game is two things. One, what does Nebraska's secondary look like really?
Yeah.
Because this secondary struggled a lot last year against good passing teams. Especially against Colorado. They got torched.
Yep.
Absolutely torched. Now, part of it is that the offense couldn't do anything, so the defense ran out of gas. But also part of it was their secondary couldn't cover anybody last year. Yeah. Now, how much better is the secondary this year? Because Colorado has A-plus players. They have Travis Hunter on offense and defense. They have, I believe, Joe Horn, right? Is that the other one? The other Colorado receiver? Who's a great, great player. Those guys are as good as any, along with Shadur Sanders, that's as good of a QB and top 2 wide receivers that you have anywhere in college football.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting how that works out, that matchup, that passing game against the Nebraska secondary. And then, John, for Colorado, how are they deep enough on the defensive line to stop Nebraska from running the ball for 4 quarters? Because Matt Rule's not going to give up running the ball.
Yeah.
He's going to keep trying to do it. Whether it pays off early in the game or not. I'm not saying he won't throw the ball when he has to, but he will he'll stay dedicated to the running game, I believe, with a true Frosh quarterback like he has until it works. Yeah. So does Colorado stop that cold? Is it that kind of game? Or is it a thing where Nebraska can run the ball and that gets their offense going? And then we got to kind of, what I think, John, what I kind of anticipate is an old-fashioned kind of a Big 12 kind of shootout.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if there's any stopping this Colorado passing game from doing what they want to do. And I don't think Colorado's defense is that good. And the Huskers are clearly, improved on offense. So the combination of Colorado being pretty questionable on defense, the Huskers being improved, but then Colorado having this absolutely electric passing game, this could be a really exciting, I don't know about high scoring, but I think like high 20s, low 30s kind of game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what it's going to come down to in this, because points will be scored by both teams, but something you always point out, and I think what it's going to come down to is line of scrimmage play. And I think Nebraska has the edge. Sure. I think that they're going to be able to run the ball enough and be able to, by doing that, be able to wear down Colorado's defensive line, which I'm not entirely sure that it's that great.
The depth is not there. The defensive line itself is okay.
Yeah,
but the
depth
depth
is not
does
there.
not exist. So
For
if you
sure.
wear them down a little bit by the fourth quarter, those guys are going to be sucking wind if you keep running the ball at them.
Yeah. And now with a healthy running back, I think Nebraska is able to do that. Their offensive line, obviously against, I know it was UTEP, but like they looked good. They looked really good.
They did look good against UTEP.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it kind of comes into play. I think, but you're right. The big question mark right now with me as well is Nebraska secondary. And if they get burned enough times, that could be it. Can they stop that? If they can stop Colorado's pass game, that's it. I think that's game. I think Nebraska will take this pretty easily, frankly, if that happens. But if Nebraska secondary stumbles and there's busted coverages all over the place, it could be a long game for both of these teams.
Yeah, this is a really fascinating one for me.
Mm-hmm.
My gut going into it, I thought for sure I was picking Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just think that passing game is so electric. And also, I don't think that Nebraska is really going to be able to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, Colorado is kind of a mess, man. They, played a very close game against NDSU. Afterwards, Dion was talking to them about the effort NDSU gave on defense, as in like, we need to give that kind of effort. So is Colorado giving the maximum effort necessary you need to win games at this level, to win close games at this level? And here's the factor. It was a coin flip for me. That crowd in Lincoln is so desperate to celebrate a big win.
Mm-hmm.
They have wanted for years and years to celebrate a big home win. It has been a long time since they've been able to celebrate a legitimately big home win. And this right now would qualify as a big home win. Yeah. This would be a students rush the field. Everybody loses their minds. Everybody's pumped about the program kind of win. So I think the atmosphere is going to be absolutely electric at this game. I think it's going to be loud. And I think that Nebraska is going to wear on Colorado over the course of the game with body blows. And I think that whoever wins the turnover battle is going to win this game. And I think it's going to be Nebraska 28, Colorado 24.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think it's definitely going to be close. But I think the difference here is going to be who wins up front. And I just believe in Nebraska's offensive and for sure their defensive line to cause some problems for Colorado. I don't think Colorado's going to be able to run the ball at all.
No, Colorado's not even going to try to run the ball.
Yeah, which I don't exactly. Now,
which means it's Nash Hutmacher time is what it means.
Which is terrifying.
Terrifying.
So,
terrifying.
And he's going to get his.
Yeah.
So
he's going to get pressure. He's going to be in Shedur's grill all day.
Yeah, exactly. So
you better double and triple team him.
Yeah. So this is where it comes down for me. I think that's how Nebraska is going to pull out a win here. I think they're going to have some problems there. I think there will be some blown coverages in the secondary, and you're going to see Colorado maybe in the first half look like they might be able to win this one. I think it's going to be close, but I think that you're going to see Colorado maybe up top, winning by a touchdown going into the second half. But you're also going to see their offensive line, I think, by the second half start to wear down. And that's when I think that in the going into the second, you're going to see Nebraska's defensive line start to create some real freaking issues in the backfield. And I think Shedur is going to be running for his life. And I think that Nebraska, with their ability to run the ball, which I believe they'll be able to, and be a more balanced attack, is going to inevitably lead to a victory here. And by the end of the game, it's going to be Nebraska in total control. I'm with you. I think that Colorado is this is going to be a huge signature win for Nebraska. This is a program builder win. which is something they need, something they haven't had, like you just said, for a very, very long time. Number of years. So this is huge, and I think they're going to get it. I think they're going to get it done. And by the end of the game, I think it's going to look pretty convincing, and Nebraska is going to look amazing. And that's what I expect. I think Raiola is going to look great. I think they've got some receivers. I think Fedoni is going to get involved, and their running game is going to get involved. And Colorado just up front is just not going to be able to withstand those attacks. So that's where it's at. I have Nebraska winning 35 to Colorado's 21.
2 touchdowns. John picking a big win for the Huskers. All right. We are high on Nebraska.
We are, man.
We are high on these Cornhuskers.
Yeah. This week, man, I think they're going to get it done. I think they're going to just keep improving this week.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see. And I think, this has so many implications for both Wisconsin, listen to me, both Nebraska and Colorado seasons.
Yep.
Like, this is very important. This game is really important to both programs. They both need a win really badly for different reasons.
Yep.
So I expect Deion to pull out all the stops. I expect Nebraska to pull out all the stops. I see a little closer game than you, but I'm with you. I think Nebraska pulls it out.
Mm-hmm.
All right, John, we did all the games.
Yes, we did.
Anything you want to say before we get out of here?
Yes, as always, you want to find We Live for Saturday. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Podcast Addict. You can find us on Twitter at We Live for B1GSat. You can find Mike here at Alibaba26. You can find me, John, at Norwegian Gopher. You can also email us at WeLiveForSaturdayB1G@gmail.com.
Awesome. Appreciate all your comments and messages and DMs and all that kind of stuff. So thanks everyone for watching and listening. Get excited for a big week 2 of Big Ten football, and we will see you to review all the games on Monday.